Well, hi there. I am Andrew Watkins, and if you're listening to this while juggling 3 patient calls, checking in a couple patients, taking a payment, selling skincare, and trying to catch your doctor in between procedures, you might be working in an aesthetic practice.
And I'm Blake Lucas, and this is Practice Land. This is not your doctor's podcast. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Practice Land once again. Thank you so much for listening, and please remember to share Practice Land with your friends and coworkers. Today, we got a fan favorite back. We got Kelcy Heringer back to talk to us about some amazing career insights, things that you can use in your everyday to help advance you or help you accomplish those goals. Kelcy, thank you so much for coming back. It's great to have you.
Thanks for having me, Blake.
Absolutely. So, what do you have for us today? What's been bugging you, or what's something that is kind of top of mind for you?
Well, it's both. It bugs me and it's top of mind.
Perfect.
I have a client that we've been working through a challenging situation. She is working in a work environment where she is constantly being told that she is lucky to have her job
Oh wow,
and reminded of that daily. And
I've been there.
so you have,
Oh, I've totally,
okay,
yeah.
can't wait to
I
talk
was
about it.
I spent probably 8 years in a company like that, and probably 3 or 4 too many. So
What finally got you to change?
I think I just wasn't really ready to realize that, like, this place that, for a long time was home for me. I loved it. I was very passionate about the job. And also too, the people that there's some people that I worked with that were fantastic, but there was maybe just like the leadership that was there that kept me from really being able to accomplish what I wanted to accomplish. It kind of came a point, and it actually was a former boss of mine that came back around and kind of was talking to me and let me know. He's like, "Hey, I think you're kind of just spinning your wheels. I think you've moved beyond this, and it might be time to find something else." And that really was kind of the kick or the push that I needed to start looking for something else that could take me to the next level.
Totally. And I so feel you there. I've been in that same spot too. And when I talk with my clients, the question that we are talking about today, it is
Mhm.
so hard. Like, how do you know when it is time to leave?
Yeah.
And we have all these like thoughts and somewhat excuses of why we stay, but it is a really hard spot to be.
Oh, absolutely. Tell us about the person that you're working with. What's kind of so she's working in a situation where they're just saying, you're so lucky to be here. What was maybe some advice that you gave her to kind of like maybe give her that moment of like, no, I think they're wrong.
Immediately what came to mind is you want to find a culture where it's flipped, right? They
Hmm.
feel so lucky to have you.
Hmm.
But immediately when you hear something like that, you are definitely in, it may sound harmless, but truly when I hear that, it is a control tactic. That comment is
Yeah.
there to make her feel small, make her feel compliant, and second guess her worth.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
that is what we've been talking about, that sometimes there are these passive aggressive, more silent ways. And so it's
Yeah.
hard to decipher, is this toxic or is this not?
Yeah.
But for sure, that is a toxic move.
What have you learned, and maybe it was the hard way,
Mhm.
about working in a toxic culture like that?
You kind of said it, like you learned the hard way after those 8 years. I did the
Mhm.
same thing myself for 5 years in a toxic environment. And I will never again make excuses for toxic behavior
Yeah.
because you start to accommodate it. And over time, it'll chip away at your confidence and it will abandon your values and beliefs.
Oh, wow.
That is one thing. Number
Mhm.
2, if I could go back, and something I will never do again is I would never confide in coworkers,
Mm.
without discernment. It makes it even worse because just because somebody is nice, it doesn't mean that they are safe. And as I look back,
Wow.
oversharing with the wrong people, the thoughts of toxicity or this issue, that got turned into ammunition. And so I would tell myself, like, discernment isn't paranoia here, it's wisdom. And I would also never, ever, the most important one, never try to win toxic people over. So if somebody is mistreating, undermining, or continuously disrespecting me or others, I will
Yeah.
never try to win their approval because they are not somebody that I value and respect in a leader.
Wow. Yeah. And as you're like saying all these things, I'm thinking like, what great advice, not even just in the in the workplace, but this is starting to like even spill over into like personal advice, right? Like you should become almost like a therapist there. But like it's yeah, like the personal relationships where you think about like the person that just doesn't they're just not worth your time, right? They aren't
Exactly.
able to you know remove themselves from that toxicity. Similar to that, like it's you're in this environment. Sometimes it can be hard to recognize the signs if I'm in a toxic place and I need to get out. How or what advice do you give someone to help them recognize maybe the red flags?
So there's probably 50 to 100, right? But
Yeah,
like,
so
I
many.
think some of the most like common are is your manager and colleagues backstabbing and gossiping? Like,
Mm,
that's a pretty good telltale sign. Do you feel unheard or shut down when you bring up ideas or feedback, or you're advocating for yourself? Probably the one that is like the easiest is, do you feel stressed, anxious, emotionally? Do you dread going to work, or do you feel physically ill? Healthy environments foster like psychological safety. And
yeah,
so if you're having any of those feelings, that is a very good sign to listen to your instincts to say, hey, I should really be asking myself, is it time to go? And
yeah,
if you aren't respected, if you have value misalignment with these folks, if you don't trust and respect your leaders,
yeah,
those are really good signs that you should be trying to look for a new home. And then also, if the people that you do respect are leaving, that is going to just make the problem worse,
right.
both growth wise for the company, but stifle your happiness. So, those are places where I think it's pretty clear if one or more of those things are happening that you're in a toxic environment and you should absolutely be looking to go elsewhere.
One of the first things you mentioned or you brought up is about like gossip and like just gossip within the company. I think is there a difference or is like how do you know the difference between just like just complaining about the job? I think like coworkers will come around and they'll kind of lament about like all the things, oh, this and that, or like I hate this part of it, and then actually like toxic like gossip. Because I think there's some of that is just maybe a little trauma bonding between like just like the
Sure.
job part of the job. And then maybe how's that different from yeah, like something like, hey, this is actually like destroying the culture of the company.
I would say, if it's like isolated to like one or two
Hmm.
people, okay, right?
Yeah.
But if this is thematic across the leaders,
Hmm.
that's when I think it is like, uh-oh, no, 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 no. Like, never again in my career will I work with a leader who is a leader at that level and is gossiping, right? Like, that's
Mm,
just not somebody that I respect.
right.
And, but I mean, we all gossip. There is what you call trauma bonding. Like,
Yeah.
that is part of like building trust, being able to like vent in people. So I think like the biggest shift is when it is really widespread and part
Mm,
of the culture and part of the DNA of the
yeah.
company is to be gossipy and backstabby. But maybe I can talk a little bit about like what is the impact if you avoid those signs and you
Mhm.
stay, what is like the toll that that can take on your career and your mental health,
Oh,
um,
absolutely.
by ignoring those signs, which are easy to do because we can always say, you probably did it when you stayed for 8 years. You're like, this is just a rough patch, or things are
Yeah.
hard everywhere. And we self excuse through it.
I would even say I from my right after that or a few years after that, I was in another role, and I was only there for 6 months before I knew I was like, "It's time to go." Like, this is not what I thought. I mean, it's so hard though, especially because we all need a paycheck, right? And so there's
Of
so
course.
much justification that comes through. Love to hear your thoughts
Well,
on, like, what the impact of staying in a toxic culture can be, to your career, mental health, all of that.
it definitely career stagnation is a big one. So
Mm,
staying in a toxic environment, it absolutely stalls your career because you get trapped in survival mode, not growth mode. And over time, your contributions go unnoticed, your opportunities for advancement are missed, and the longer you stay, the
mhm.
more you miss out. on your career advancement, the more you miss out on promotions, raises, and the ability to push your career forward. And then, of course, there's the mental and emotional toll that we touched on, which is the stress of toxicity is terrible and
Yeah.
wears you down. It's constant conflict, lack of support, criticism. That takes a huge toll on your mental health and it leads to burnout. It leads to anxiety and self doubt. You begin to also like carry that negativity home with you. And so it can affect not just like your work, but also your home life and your other
Yeah.
relationships and your own well being. So it absolutely has a negative impact on like your quality of life. And then, similar to like the career stagnation, like missed growth opportunities, like toxic environments, it's rare
Mm.
that there's a ton of innovation going on. When you're stuck in like negativity and micromanagement, you're usually not at a place where you're taking risks, learning from mistakes. It's like
Mm.
probably doing something that that person wants to do. So you're
Yeah.
not developing new skills, not being innovative. So you stop growing professionally and personally and your potential starts to diminish. And so staying too long means that you miss out on chances to thrive in a healthier, more supportive environment.
Yeah. Absolutely. So you're in this, say, like there's someone that's there. I bet there's people that are listening to this and they're like, oh my gosh, like this, I am in this spot. I'm like recognizing they're seeing like, yeah, that's, yeah, yeah. I feel that way. I feel this way. How does that person maybe reclaim their power if they find themselves in
Yeah.
this situation that we've outlined?
Yes. Sorry if you're here,
Yeah.
but promise there is so much better waiting for you on the other side.
Yeah.
So
The
number
grass is
one,
greener.
exactly. This is a situation where the grass is greener. Find a new home. Like that
Mm.
is number one. And while you're still there, start setting very clear boundaries.
Mm.
The first step is like owning that this is dysfunctional and that
Right.
this is not okay and that this is not your fault and stop trying to fix it. So I can't
Mm.
stand when I read these pieces of content on like people staying to try to fix a toxic environment. It doesn't work. If the
Right.
if the culture is toxic, you're not going to be the one that comes in there and saves it. So I think that number one is like owning it and not trying to make it better and then building your exit plan and ramp.
Yeah.
And so asking yourself, really, what did I learn from here that I will never do again? And what's important to me in my next career move? And there should always be 3 deal breakers that you write down for your next career move. And then lastly, I would say, if you're like, well, I don't know what I'm going to go do next or where to go, and you take those 3 deal breakers, and then you also ask yourself, like, what am I awesome at doing? What do I love doing? And
Yeah.
where can I get paid for those things that I love doing and that I'm good at doing?
Yeah.
And that map up with those 3 values alignments, like that's gold for where you
Yeah.
should go next in your career. So get creative and don't be afraid of it. Embrace it as like this is a fun new clean slate opportunity. There's a bazillion opportunities out there waiting for you. So to have the confidence to know that you're going to be okay.
Well, Kelsey, I think this is, I think so like top of mind are so important and relative to people I think that are listening. There's so many of us that find ourselves in the same situation. I know I have a few times in my career, and being able to recognize those signs early and understand kind of my own worth and where what I want to be able to accomplish and not try to fix it, right? Not being that
Mhm.
stuck in that mode can be so helpful in improving people's overall work life balance. As we kind of think about this, I always love to end with like one thing that we can take away from what we've talked about. So what is something that you would want to make sure above all else that people remember from today's topic?
I recently read a very powerful study on, and I'll tell you the stat. It takes
Hmm.
22 months to recover from a toxic work environment.
Wow.
So those
It's almost two
beliefs, the
years
traumas, the habits, those stick with you. And 22 months actually is pretty fast. And so I would say remind yourself that every day you are staying in this toxic spot, you are setting yourself back 2 more years. And maybe that will get you to finally start unlearning survival mode and help you get back your confidence so that you can project forward.
Kelsey, we are so lucky to have you here. Thank you so much for your time again. I think you definitely are a fan favorite for a reason.
Oh, thank you
Um,
so much.
we'll,
I love being here.
Absolutely, we'll always have you back. Again, where can we follow you? Where
Yeah.
are you on social media?
Yeah, TikTok or Instagram might be easier, Kelcy_Heringer.
Perfect. If you got questions for us or for Kelsey, of course, you can always go to practicelandpodcast.com and submit those there. We always want to hear user stories. We always want to get answers and questions from you guys, from our listeners. We love you all. Thank you. And Practice Land, good luck out there, and we'll see you next time.
Got a wild customer service story or a sticky patient situation? Send us a message or voicemail. If your tale makes it into our She Did What segment, we'll send a thank you gift you'll actually love. Promise, no cheap swag here.
Are you one of us? Subscribe for new episode notifications and more at practicelandpodcast.com. New episodes drop weekly on YouTube and everywhere you can listen to podcasts.